Hello everyone. Today we again talk about white PSG. Not in the sense that they're like PSG at all actually, it's just that they're another team that I get to milk. And with milk prices only going more and more up, and me being a milk enjoyer myself, this is very important to me. We talked about Spurs 3 weeks ago, and I closed off the video saying that while things were bad, Spurs would eventually recover when their players returned. Yeah, so it's actually gotten far worse. But let's step back for a second. How did we get to this point?
We? Who's we? There is no we.
3 days before Christmas last year, Tottenham with a depleted squad went up against the league leaders, and to no one's surprise, they looked like prey on a Nat Geo show. By the 61st minute, Spurs were losing 5-1. At home. In the end, the game ended 6-3, so I guess there's at least some kind of positive here. In their next game, Spurs went to Nottingham to face Forest, and like it has been time and time again, their high defensive line gets exposed and they concede the only goal of the game. The following week was even more disastrous as Tottenham found themselves struggling against 18th placed in the league. They made a litter of puppies look like fucking werewolves. The way every moment a single bit of pressure was applied, they'd collapse. Quick side note, by the way, just kind of curious what you guys think. What's less threatening, Tottenham's badge or New Orleans Pelican? I want an essay by Sunday. Then there was the flu game where the team was wiped out, but they still managed to score early. However, just 2 minutes later, the football gods aren't done having their fun, and a missed handball sees the Hotspur derail. But then by some miracle a few days later, Tottenham managed to avenge themselves against Liverpool by beating them in the first leg of the Carabao Cup. But don't be foolish people, Spurs in their next fixture went all the way to extra time against a team in the National League. Next was the North London Derby, and because none of the Arsenal players can complete the task of putting the spherical object in the net, Spurs off one single scuffed chance take the lead. However, just like the previous North London Derby, Spurs concede from a corner in the 40th minute. Then just 4 minutes later, Bissouma loses the ball in a very vulnerable position, and the team continues to collapse under the smallest bit of pressure. But perhaps a team at their level will help the Hotspur recover from this horrible run of games. I could not be more wrong, as 16th place Everton, within one single half, reduced Tottenham to an insignificant stain on a wrinkled shirt. I need you to understand just how embarrassing this is, because before this match, Everton only scored just 15 goals. And Spurs conceded 3 from them in the first half. Then, 1 week later, after a pretty solid start versus Leicester at home, once more, a single tiny bit of pressure causes the entire midfield and defense to fall faster than the Confederacy. And Dr. Tottenham is at it again because Leicester was on a 7-game losing streak. And by losing to Leicester, Tottenham make monumental history, stretching past a millennium. By losing a game against a team with a 7-game losing streak, this is the first time Spurs has done that since 1912. It needs to be considered that this club needs to be renamed to Cock and Ball Tottenham, because I don't think torture gives justice to what the fans are experiencing on a weekly basis. It is now almost the end of January, and Spurs find themselves in a relegation battle right now. Like, we were joking about this a few weeks ago, but this is legit now. They're only 8 points above safety. And with Everton having a game in hand and also experiencing Moisey magic, Tottenham could actually find themselves 16th. Real quick though, it's time for the segment where we show the food you guys are eating while watching my videos, so let's begin. A big shout out to Unilife. He's got some chicken donburi with Indonesian comments hating on his fellow Chinese brothers in the background. This pizza here is an absolute work of art. I know that thing was blessed by the gods. Here's a plate of what is called francesinha. The thing about this segment is I also get to learn about new foods, which I think is really cool. I Google searched this later on. I need it. We have a couple snacks, bananas with a Coke, the good ass bananas too. I feel like a good rule of thumb is the smaller the banana, the better. And finally, we have baya, which is a Kenyan dish. I need to eat more African cuisine this year, man. If you'd like to have a chance to feature on the channel, all you gotta do is tag me on Instagram or Twitter. In the last video, we talked about all the things that were going wrong, and everything that has contributed to this Spurs downfall. has only stomped on the gas. Injuries? Oh, it's gotten so much worse. After that video, Dominic Solanke and Brennan Johnson both suffered injuries that'll have them out for a few weeks. Timo Werner is out as well, and you have a better chance of winning big if you put it all on red than James Madison playing more than 2 consecutive games. Jed Spence, who was doing a really good job filling in for the injured fullbacks, was injured for the Leicester game, while Pop Sarr played through an injury against them, which is probably why the midfield was extra terrible. And the thing with this injury crisis is that it has caused absolute mayhem pretty much every single week for the starting lineup. In fact, since match day 12, we have seen at least one change to the goalkeeper position or the back line. I mean, week in, week out, the club has legit struggled to have a whole team of 11 seniors be fit. It's gotten so bad that oftentimes they've had to whip out the big number jerseys to put on the bench. And you know it's bad when you see some guy with the number 79 as a backup. Now, since that video a few weeks back, there's been even more discussion about why exactly Spurs players have just been dropping like flies. People have been more critical about Ange's training methods and his adamacy to always stick 100% to his tactics. And as I've said before, I think it's good for a coach to stick to his guns, but in a situation like this, I do believe you don't always have to go 100%. Another point being made is that Tottenham has actually played the same amount of games as they did last season. Already. Which makes sense because they didn't have Europa League football last year, and now that the Europa League has even more games, there's that, the Premier League, and also they're still in both domestic cups. In fact, like I said before, they're in the Carabao Cup semis. Now, while both points are valid and definitely have played a role in Spurs' injury crisis, both of these could have very much been avoided because all of this goes back to Daniel Levy. It was known in the past already that Ange's playstyle and training methods are very intense. In fact, there was at one point during his time at Celtic when none of their strikers were available. And by appointing a guy like this, Spurs signed up for this. They knew what they were getting into. And so with that said, this is entirely on the ownership. This is entirely on Daniel Levy for not backing Ange enough. And I feel like that is context that needs to be added to this story because I don't really hear it that much. No one really talks about the history of Ange's football teams before then. I understand that he needs to make some changes here or there, but again, the club signed him. The club appointed him. They trusted him for this rebuild. They signed up for this, so they should be prepared for this. We've already in-depth talked about how Daniel Levy has kind of treated this football club more as a business than anything else, and that's obviously been an issue with modern football with these different owners coming in. But, you know, maybe with this injury crisis, things have changed, you know. It's been 3 weeks in January, the whole transfer window has basically passed by, and so far Spurs have bought a new backup keeper whose name I still keep thinking is kinky every single time I read it, and that was pretty much right at the beginning of the transfer window, you know, a good sign. Who else did they sign after that? Absolutely no one. In this dire situation where the team is literally on its knees begging for reinforcements, nothing. Absolutely nothing. No defender, no midfielder. Does Daniel Levy know what's going on right now? I feel like I need to repeat this again. This team is 15th right now. Even the worst owners in Italian football would at least risk one of their 18 illegitimate bank accounts to get someone. I know Daniel Levy has said in the past he wants to change his outlook on transfers by going for a more efficient scouting system, but that doesn't really matter right now because you are 15th in the table with like 6 healthy players. Not to mention, when you want to do the Brighton-Brentford thing, you gotta sign some players. You've signed one. Listen, on the previous video, I said things would get better once the players come back. I don't really know anymore, honestly. The league is a lost cause, players are still going down, and because there's no one to replace them, they get thrown back in way too early, and then get injured again. Now, I've heard the club has agreed an offer to get Mathys Tel, and that's good for their attack, but what about the other parts of the lineup that they've been struggling with, you know, like the midfield and the defense? I feel like it'd be probably a good idea to get another backup defender that's actually, you know, competent. Maybe the jinx will help this club, you know? The jinx has done miracles when I don't want it to, so maybe Spurs will come back once this video is uploaded. But like realistically, the only positive I could actually see for this club going forward is like maybe the final of the Carabao Cup. And I say maybe because they still have to play Liverpool at Anfield in the second leg. I know it seems like they're putting all their eggs into one basket with this cup, but still, That is Liverpool at Anfield. I feel like it's not much of a hot take to say you can't really fluke at Anfield right now. But what do you guys think? Are Spurs doomed? Or would this video jinx Daniel Levy perhaps into signing 10 different players by the end of the window? Let me know. Of course, though, a massive shout out to all our members, including Janos Balas, Luke RBB, Brazilian Fury, Jeremiah Owusu Ajimang, Django, Adazir Makalankam, Alex Rod, Ulta, Miguel Munoz, Return Fire, Rory Burns, Slider Kid, Taco Okafan, The Cypriot 35, Not Windows 95 Man, Kentra Agatra, St. Terrence, Sylvia Citrus, Y is Orange, Rashford Enthusiast, Cocosaurus Rex, Samu, Cheesebait, Winder Gel, M4 Dustuff, Finn Likes Rugby More, Davox, The Portugizer, TPSK25, Polar Protos, Von Fan, Lucian Von Croix, Gazagish Brescia Mano Tango Fei, A Ghostly Owl, Coney Wolves, Mutanai, Sketchy Card, KM89, Apollo, Congo Jas 1, German Sayu 7th, Thrilling ADT 13, Los Milos, Petrus 249, Freya, Dominic Griffin, Kyler Krebs, Mohammed Altanib, Nish, Patrick Barley, Rashford God 5, Raspberry Ale, and Unbroken Persona. If you'd like to become a member of the channel, there'll be a link down below and up in the annotations. You can follow my Twitter if you want, follow my Instagram if you like, follow my Twitch because I will probably be doing a Daytona 500 watch-along stream. That should be a ton of fun. But until then, I'll see you guys.